provide the sacrifice. You provide the Spirit. I will open up the sky. You provide the fire. I will be the sacrifice. You provide the Spirit. I will open up inside. You provide the fire. I will be the sacrifice. You provide the Spirit. Provide the fire. I will be the sacrifice. You provide the Spirit. I will open up inside. Fill me up. 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 I desire wisdom. I desire kindness. I will open up inside. I desire virtue. I desire kindness. I will open up inside. Fill me up. Fill me up. Fill till I overflow. I wanna run over. 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 I wanna run over.
Today I wanted to talk about cultivating a heart of gold. Some of us speak about the Dharma, and we use eloquent words, but if it's not reflected in our habit energy, then the things we say or do every day, or what we don't say or do every day, leaves us with a Dharma that is empty. Empty of embodiment. You see, because we have to be the living Dharma. I mean, like having a Dharma that's not a living Dharma is like having a dead husband. You know, not very useful. Because its power is only manifested through our daily actions, our minute by minute actions. Actually, what we think and what we say and what we do in the present moment. You know, we have good reflection. We can always go, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. You know, but that's a tad bit late. Because by that time, the harm is already done. We want to come back and fix it. And in a way, we do fix it. But the best way is for us to develop the capacity to hold the present moment. And that's what we train to do. Some of us crow about our great revelations that we've had, or we boast about our teachers. I follow Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching. You know, I'm a Buddhist. I follow Baha'u'llah. I'm a Baha'i. I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus. I'm Jewish. Moses was the man. You know. But the question is, do we embody those teachings in the moment when it's what is needed to give quality, to give substance to that moment? Mm-hmm. So we are lover of these teachings when we live them. And when we don't, we can still be a lover of the teachings when we realize that we missed the mark. I'm so happy, you know, when I realize like you might realize I missed the mark all the time, but I'm happy when I realize that I missed the mark, you see. When I know where I am. Because then I can do something. I can, you know, when I failed, I can quickly repent and get back on the path. That's all I know. That word repent just triggered somebody. It just triggered somebody in here. You know, because we don't like, you know, that word. We don't like thinking about asking someone even for forgiveness when we know we've done an unskillful thing. That's how stiff-necked and resistant we can become. So I want to ask you a question this morning. Like, who's the most important person in your life right now, right at this moment? Thich Nhat Hanh asked his Sangha that. And they had all kinds of different answers. My husband, my wife, my child, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my this, my that. A few of them thought myself, but they didn't say it. They thought that. And then he gave them something to think about that I'd like to share with you today. He said the present moment is the only time over which we have dominion. So the most important person is always the person you are with right at this moment. The one who's right in front of you. Because who knows if you will even have a breath 30 seconds from now. Who knows if you will have the opportunity to have any dealing with any other person in the future. So he brings us to the point of recognizing being in the present moment is not being in the present situation. Oh, you know, we have a room over there. It's called a situation room. That's where we have our meetings, and that's what we call that the situation room. Yeah. But he's saying it's not really about the situation. No, it's like about the person that we are with. We don't hurt situations. We don't kill situations. But we hurt and we kill people and other living beings. So he was asking us if we could only be respectful of the person standing right in front of us in every moment. If we could only be kind to the person that's standing right in front of us, you know, in the midst of this situation, if we could only respond with compassion to that one who confessed his most heart-wrenching shame to us and stand stripped and naked in front of us. If we can have some empathy for that one, not the situation, if we could only humble ourselves in the moment and suspend judgment in regard to the other person, when we have a difference in assessing, well, like what's going on, what's happening right now, bypassing the situation and considering that one in front of us in this moment, the most important person in our life is if we can only realize that it's a fool who takes no pleasure in understanding others, but rather delights in her own opinions and views. If we were only willing in the moment to be a true friend to that one that stands in front of us. If we could accept that in the present moment, the person in front of us is the most important person in our life. It sets up our karma. You know, if I don't do it for you, do it for myself. Have some sense. It sets up some forward-moving action, the production of some fruit that ultimately I will serve myself. So borrowing from an excerpt from the Paul's first letter to the Christian disciples that he fostered in Corinth, he said, I appeal to you, brethren, that means male and female, that's everybody. I appeal to you, brethren, that all of you agree and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be united in the same mind and in the same discernment. He didn't say this part, I just added, because a house divided against itself, it can't stand. Nobody has to come from the outside and destroy. We destroy from within. There was a time when I was married to one of my 3 husbands, and this one, like women liked him, you know? And so there was this woman, like kind of fiending on him. And, you know, you just try to help your partner avoid temptation. So, and he was a really, really good man, you know, and so, but I was a bit concerned because she was fine. And I said, you know, God, I'm getting ready to kill somebody. So I need a little bit of help here. And I opened the Bible and I started reading. And I read a passage. You know, I just did one of them open things, wherever your finger lands, you just read. And it said, a wise woman establishes her household. A foolish woman tears it down. Now, when I read that, I felt so empowered all of a sudden because I really believed it. I could see the truth in that. I said to myself, she does not have the power to tear down my household, only me in the way that I handle this situation. And I got enough wisdom to figure out how to keep my husband. And then I executed. And I didn't execute her. I came up with a plan. I came up with a plan and I took action, appropriate action. But part of that was in how I dealt with him to help him count up the cost. How I emboldened and built myself up by reminding myself he likes money. And at that time, I knew how to make it. And he was not leaving me for somebody he'd have to take care of. So I didn't worry so much. And, so I just lined up all of the positives against the negatives. And if the negatives had outweighed the positive, I should leave. But the positives outweighed the negatives. And I began to put into my mind, all of the benefits of our relationship. And I began to be kind to him. Not overly kind, but just kind enough. And after a while, he said, I think so-and-so is hitting on me. I said, I think you're right. What do you think we should do about this? He said, don't leave me in the room alone with her. I said, oh, don't worry. I won't. And together, we like just put that fire out, And many, many years later, probably 20 years later, I was still with him. And I went over to China and ordained and came back and had to tell him, I ordained while I was away, and I want to know if you let me go ahead and keep going with this thing. And he said to me, Diane, I knew when I let you go to China, and we're not going to talk about that, I let you go part, but when I let you go to China that you'd be coming back, but you wouldn't be coming back to me. He said, when we met, I was everything to you. And that's true. He said, but now you love everybody and I want to be special. And so being with him was hurting him. As long as I considered him mine, I was hurting him. And he gave me my freedom. And I gave him his. And so Paul had gone and he'd gotten together a little group and he was teaching them, things that, not that Jesus had taught him, because he didn't meet him. He just heard some of the teachings and he had an epiphany and an experience, and he saw the light. He had a revelation, deep insight, a realization. And he began to teach from that. And when he went down to Corinth, one of the few places that they didn't beat him half to death, because before he was so against this teaching until he had a direct experience. That's why I don't worry about what somebody else says. Direct experience is king, I'll tell you that. And when you have one, you don't worry about what other people think or what other people believe. You hold fast to your own experience. And so after he had taught them for a while, and they began to be on their own, he left. You hear that? He left them. And they continued on. He left them and they continued on. I'm just saying. He didn't stay forever. He went and he planted somewhere else and they continued on. But when they started having a little trouble, they wrote him and said, there's trouble in paradise. And they outlined what their problem was. And he sent a letter to encourage them. Now, what we call the Holy Scriptures, the Bible, they're just the letters that he sent to them to just encourage them. So they're not like the sacred text in the way we think, like they drop down from heaven and gold, and gold plates and this is it. No, he was just encouraging them. And he said, I appeal to you, brethren, that all of you agree and there be no divisions among you, but that you be united in the same mind and the same discernment. When I was with you, I could not address you as spiritual people, but as people of the world, as infants in spiritual understanding. I fed you with milk and not with solid food, for you were not ready for it. And even now, you're not yet ready, because you're still worldly. You're still self-centered, behaving only in a human way. When we are seeking the spiritual way of life, we agree to abandon the I and the my making. And we do this only when we have found that I and my making has not brought us a deep and lasting happiness. It has not uprooted our secret fears. It has not uprooted our hidden faults. Sometimes we get like, we just don't want to be that way anymore. But that's the only way we know. We don't know how to be any other way. Then we start seeking out something that shows us another way to be. We can be like 50% good and 50% not so good. We can be 80% good and 20% not so good. And we can be 20% good and 80% not so good. But at some point, when you start reaching that tipping scale, you start wanting to uproot the not so good part. Like, I'm almost there. But this one thing right here, this stumbles me. Again and again and again. And so we start seeking out some information, some path, some associations that put a clamp on that help us to recognize it, that helps us to uproot it, that makes us even want to, Sometimes when you go a place and you're feeling sad and you're feeling down and you're feeling depressed, you get around a whole bunch of happy people, it like gets on your nerves. You just, all these happy people, But you stay with that. And after a while, it starts to rub away your sadness. If you let it, you have to go hide in your room for it to not work. Because in spite of yourself, it starts to work. So part of this spiritual practice, this coming together, is submitting ourselves to one another and to a practice, a discipline, in hopes of realizing greater freedom and greater release. And we have to give ourselves over to this expectation, not for the other person really, because the bottom line is that everything we do, ultimately, we do it for ourselves because we're the owners of our own karma, right? So while it might benefit the other, actually, everything we do for ourselves. So if you're of the persuasion, like, I don't want to do anything for anybody else, don't worry. Everything we do for ourselves. We reap that karmic fruit, whatever it is. And that's why it's easy, to understand some suffering that people undergo. All you have to do is look at how they relate to others. Yeah? In the Hebrew book of Proverbs, we're not admonished, but we are encouraged that one who is a friend loves at all times. So I can ask myself this question and I can answer it. Am I a friend? Am I a true friend? Because a true friend loves at all times. Actually, we have to apply wisdom to that love, but certainly we can even love when we say no, when we have to say no. No, we don't have to stoke ourselves up to get mad to be able to say no. Just learn how to say no without getting mad. Why? Because hatred is never appropriate. It's never all right to throw fire bombs on other people. You could say what you have to say. A person might get upset because you say it. Even their feelings might get hurt. But you weren't hurting them. You understand what I mean? They just have to think about what you said and deal with it. But there's a difference in the energy when someone is angry with you. But a friend is one who loves at all times, also reminds us that a friend is born for adversity. Adversity is what I handle. That's my middle name. That's how one should think. That's what emboldens one. That's what gives one the power to do and the power to yield. Knowing that a friend is one born for, made for adversity, for tackling adversity, for handling what's hard, what's difficult. It lets us know our matter, what we are made of, what we have the capacity to handle and to hold. So when you have a tough problem, that's when you call on a friend. And that's when a friend can be of true benefit. When hard times come, and they come, that's when the essence of a true friend comes out. So sometimes someone says to me about that person over there, they're not practicing, but I know that person as a true friend. I know that person, that she's with me in adversity. I can't tell what's going on, because as soon as your hair stand on end if you know some of the things that I have to deal with. But that one that you think is not practicing, that one is a true friend. And there are others who look like they're true friends on the outside, but there's the yeah. So there are 3 patterns I want to share with you today. 3 patterns of cultivation that's necessary to produce a healthy sangha, a healthy spiritual community. Beyond just studying the Dhamma, and I like to share them with you. You know, some things are really better caught than they are taught. We're not going to find everything in a book. Matter of fact, most of the things that matter we won't find in a book. But we find them in our real life experiences. And the best things come in the worst situations. There's little kids in the worst situations. In the worst situations we find some of the best. So the first one is the relational pattern. And I was so happy today when I came in. And there were different ones talking to each other. You know, just a friendly flow. And I thought that was really nice. And some people said, we need to have silence, meditation time before people come in for the Dhamma. And so we've had time to have that, and then we still have 5 minutes or so to greet one another when we come in. So both sides are handled, and I think it's very good. I remember the time we come in like horses running a race with blinders on. We just only saw the chair that we were going to take, and we get in, and we look up front, and that's all we had was this. So it was very delightful when I came in today. And actually, I could hear Ruth laughing. I mean, she's got such a wonderful laugh. It's like a Santa Claus with ho, 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 ho. I love it. It's beautiful, honestly. So that relational pattern, speaking to each other, being interested in the welfare of another, having goodwill towards each other, giving a smile across the room. You don't always have to talk. Just a smile that says, I see you. I know you're here. Actually saying hello. I remember I used to get comments from guests, and, they just said, we came, we listened, and we went. Nobody even came and said hello. We kept trying to have what was that thing we had with greeter? I mean, we just couldn't keep the greeter thing going. So everybody has to be a greeter then. I mean, like, we don't have to inundate a person, but make sure somebody speaks to somebody they haven't seen before. Encouraging one another when you see they're troubled or they're down. Now, I'm not talking about being a busybody. There's this difference. I'm talking about connecting to say, I see you're hurting, and I have you in my thoughts. And then really have them in your thoughts in a kind way. The second is cultivating a heart for others. That's like a missional kind of pattern. And it's the kind that's the most neglected in Buddhist circles, at least. But actually, it's the quick path. The Buddha said when Ananda and he were walking through one of their communities and he saw how they were relating to one another, Ananda said, oh, good friends in the Dhamma, that's half of the spiritual life. He said, don't say that, Ananda, don't say that. He said, good friends in the Dhamma, it's the whole of spiritual life. So he's telling us something about a quick path. We don't have to learn all the Dhamma ever written. We could just get on the quick path. And that is a way. It doesn't matter whether you can, what's that song? You can meet me by trailway. You can meet me by a caravan. I don't care how you get there, but get there. That's it. So for one, they take this path. For another, they take this path. For some, they take 3 or 4 paths. They might get there a little later, but they're also well-rounded. So they understand the one who took this path, and they understand the one who took that path. They're like, no, this is the way. You got to go this way. So they understand many paths. But the Buddha said that this missional thing is the quick path. He also had something to say about devotion. We say that he doesn't. He said that one of the first tags or markers of awakening is not relying on rites and rituals. But he didn't mean that we don't do any. We have rituals as simple as brushing our teeth and taking a shower every day. I mean, I wouldn't want to see people missing it. It's not necessarily that ritual has a certain power. It is that the ritual puts you into mindfulness about what your own great wish is. And that it helps to train the mind to lean in a certain direction. And after a while, It'll just automatically lean there. You don't have to keep donking it over. It'll just automatically. One of my nephews, he used to hold his head like this when he was a child. But you knew he grew up and he could never straighten up his head. And that's a true story. I mean, he was always like that. So girls would think he was like giving him that sly fox. But no, that's just the way his head leaned. That's the truth, isn't it? I'm telling the truth. His head was like that. So somebody who wasn't in the know thought something different. But it was just from continually leaning in that direction. And these are natural things, you know. We can just look at what's naturally occurring in the world, and there's the Dharma, you know. And so we know that he wasn't against service because he taught by precept, but not precept alone. He taught by precept and example. And he worked tirelessly until he was 80. And 80 in 500 BC must have been a long time. Living outside, walking everywhere, eating whatever people put in your bowl. Spoiled, you still ate it. Or you went hungry. Mostly he said for them to eat it. If you upchuck, you upchuck. But eat what was offered. I mean, we live it in good times. He said the robe, you know, that where the people should respect the robe because they're respecting what somebody gave up to get this. They gave up lives and careers and husband and children and money making and all of these things to get it. And somebody want to run in and get it in 15 minutes. Just give me the quick, you know, give me the summary, you know. But it costs something. But on the other side, he said, monks should not think of the robes as anything but covering from the gadflies and the mosquitoes. Something to lay on the ground on or to cover yourself over with when you're cold. So he teaches us how to look at things from both sides. How to be honored and how to give honor. And if you look at his life, he devoted his whole life to serving others with what he had. Such as I have, I freely give. Some people are skilled at one thing or another. You know? And we should give according to what we have. The skills, the vidya's that we possess. His was this Dharma. And I'm mighty glad he stuck with his strong suit. And he talked about devotion. And he said devotion is absolutely the quick path because it puts us in the highest mental state. He said, the only thing he said was that you just don't have to worship them. They're not looking for worship, but certainly not worshiping in the sense that when you do, that's your work. And you're going to reap all these wonderful benefits from worshiping. He said, actually, although it puts your heart in a wonderful space, you're still going to have to do your work. That's what he said about. He said, you know, you're going to have to realize, and the truth is, you're going to have to actualize it, walk it out for yourself. You just can't walk in somebody else's empowerment. You can't ultimately rely on anyone else's goodness, their grace, their power, their realization. If you do, although you go far, it just won't take you across the finish line. Somewhere down the road, you're still going to have to do your work. He spoke of many kinds of beings, being near and supportive, although not of this world. Devas, Brahmas, Dakinis, Gandharvas. He spoke of all kinds of beings. So if you came into this because you didn't want to hear anything about heavenly beings or holy beings, sorry. I mean, he talked about all those things. We don't talk about it that much in the West because, like, we don't want to talk about it. But that's fine, you know. But it doesn't mean they're not there. Doesn't mean they're not available to help. It doesn't mean they don't combine their energy with ours, and because they have a high mind stream, that we don't catch that vibration and soar. We can. The third pattern is the growth pattern. That's changing, conforming to what we say we believe, holding as precious, demonstrating how we admit we ought to be in relation to each other because we get it not up here, but because it's a truly heartfelt response. And this is what leads to transformation, and this is called practice. So there are these three kinds of human beings in the world. The run-of-the-mill, the untaught, ordinary persons, the ones who have no regard for others, and they have no regard for spiritual things. I know that's not you because you're here. There are those in higher training who are somewhat conscious, who have a conscience. Those cherishing goodness of heart, they see a benefit of heartfulness, who are seeking purity of mind. They love hearing about and studying and discussing the highest teachings. Not saying that Buddhism is the highest teachings. The highest teachings, wherever they may be found, a rose is still a rose, regardless of what you call it. They love discerning how to live life meaningfully. But they're not yet committed enough to walk it out. They're fair weather friends. Friendly when it doesn't cost them anything. And the third kind are those who live with respect and concern and appreciation for themselves and for others. Is that you? Those who apply their actual energy to fulfilling the commands of the heart. Those who have achieved or who have at least often touched the state of mind the Buddha called beautiful. The state of mind called beautiful. The state of mind called beautiful. And actually, he said that this state of mind is rooted in the Brahma viharas, not in the human realm, but in the Brahma viharas. The Brahma world, the Deva Loka. Sorry. But he said that we can access it here and now in this world, in this life. Attuning ourselves to it. And he gives us the steps, the method for that way leading upward. Situations may have taken us far from a true home. Home being where the heart is. So it may take practice trusting again. Or maybe trusting for the very first time. We can practice to trust. The energy of a spiritual practice will take us there, and it will take care of us, and it will protect us. If every day we're giving rise to energy of despair or frustration or anger, we're not good for ourselves, and we're not good for others. No matter how much Dharma, no matter how many scriptures we know, no matter how much other good we do, we have to develop the capacity to hold the present moment by holding others in our hearts, by truly allowing that one that is in front of us right at this moment in time to be the most important person to us. So, the $64,000 question is, now I'm dating myself, I don't know, that used to be a show. The question is, are we willing to abdicate the throne of ourself to be there for others? Are we willing to abandon the I-ness when we feel like it, and even when we don't? He said the sons and daughters, not only of the Buddha, but of all the holy beings, we all practice this way. So as we move away from the sirens and the flashiness and the failings of ordinary life, we're moving toward something as well. And the most important pursuit is making the person who's standing in front of you or at your side right now in this moment happy. As Thich Nhat Hanh said, for that alone is the pursuit of life. The Buddha himself said, for what reason do we go from the household life to homelessness? In other words, moving from a worldly view, a worldly perspective, into a spiritual view, or spiritual life. He asked his disciples that question. Like, what are you here for? What are you looking for and why are you here? He said, for what reason do we go from that life to this life? They didn't have an answer. He had to give them the answer. And it was to be a refuge for all beings. We think we come here to end our suffering. That's what we come to get out of suffering. But he said, nope. Actually, you come to be a refuge for all beings. Today, I recommit to being there for you. If you ever thought I wasn't. If you ever thought I didn't care. If you ever thought that somehow, in some way, I abandoned you. I'm telling you now, I never have. And if there's anyone who comes to your mind that you think that you have abandoned, it's not too late to become a true friend. All it takes is cultivating a heart of gold.
I want to live so, I need to give so, I won't stay stagnant in this heart so cold. A selfish rat race or open heart space, it's urgent now to choose a heart of gold. Yeah, I'm getting old. Keeps me searching for a heart of gold. Yeah, I'm getting old. been so self-absorbed that I have just ignored the eightfold pathway to a heart of gold. And what I want to find, I won't find in my mind. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Awakening unfolds. Oh, by serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Awakening unfolds. I just can't sit here in mindful bliss here and think that's all I need to take me home. That's only half the show. To grow, I really know, takes loving action and a kind outflow. The rest, just let it go. Oh yeah, need loving action and a kind outflow. The rest, just let it go. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Takes loving action and a kind outflow. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Awakening unfolds. Oh, oh, by serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Takes loving action and a kind outflow. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Awakening unfolds. Oh, yeah, let's sing together. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Takes loving action and a kind outflow. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Awakening unfolds. Oh yeah, by serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Takes loving action and a kind outflow. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Awakening unfolds. Oh, oh, by serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Takes loving action and a kind outflow. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Awakening unfolds. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Takes loving action and a kind outflow. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Awakening unfolds. Oh yeah, awakening unfolds. Awakening unfolds.
So that was the end of our Dharma for today. I want to just read you the verses because Maureen wrote this last night. You know, the song is a out there, Heart of Gold. but it wasn't a Dharma song. I just liked the sound of the song, but I asked her to write lyrics for it. And in, I don't know, a few minutes or an hour, this is what flowed right out of her. It said, I want to live so, I need to give so, I won't stay stagnant in this heart so cold. A selfish rat race or open heart space, it's urgent now to choose a heart of gold. Yeah, I'm getting old. Keeps me searching for a heart of gold. I've been so self-absorbed that I have just ignored the eightfold pathway to a heart of gold. And what I want to find, I won't find in my mind. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold, and awakening unfolds. I can't just sit here in mindful bliss here and think that's all I need to take me home. That's only half the show. To really grow, I know, takes loving action and a kind outflow. The rest, just let go. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold. Takes loving action and a kind outflow. By serving you, I earn a heart of gold, and awakening unfold.